Here on behalf of a group of concerned residents. So I'd like to ask everyone, we have a letter we want to present to the City Council tonight. It has been co-signed by 33 people. I'd like everyone actually to come on up who was a co-signatory. They're not all here tonight, but to join me because I believe I'm speaking for all of us when we make this statement. So thank you. So I'll go ahead and get started as people arrive. So we are here tonight to express our concerns about the lack of transparency of city government and poor responsiveness of San Carlos officials and staff to the voices and desires of San Carlos residents. Our concerns are based on a 2-year experience of working with the city to address the impact of oversized homes on nearby neighbors and the character and coherence of our neighborhoods. We've chosen to raise the issue with the City Council now for 2 reasons. First, to publicly document the shortcomings of the process employed by the city staff and the city government on this important issue. And secondly, to encourage the new City Council to increase the transparency of their process and the representativeness of their decisions on future issues of this value. We have a letter describing our concerns and will deliver hard copies to the Council here tonight. It has been signed by 33 residents. I put out a very targeted call for co-signers. The letter was done on Saturday morning. This is not a petition. We could have gotten quite a few more, but it's really, our goal was to have enough people here to let you know that this is a broad-based concern. Over the last 2 years, the city has taken actions that have decreased our faith in the process and led to our belief that the final decision was not representative of participating residents' well-articulated wishes. As an example, there's a few metrics in the letter. I looked at, there were 6 public meetings during which there were nearly 6 hours of public comment.
Christian, pardon me for interrupting you. Since that's the 2 minutes, do you have a sense of how long the rest of your comments will be?
I'd say another 2 minutes would suffice.
Okay, I'll make an exception for that.
Thank you. So 82 people spoke, gave nearly 6 hours of comment. Of those, 78 took an opinion on the zoning standards. Out of those 78, 72 or 92% favored standards that were in line with peer communities, while only 6 or 8% favored something different. 32 letters were submitted in agenda packets. I went back and I counted those and tallied them. Of those 28, 30 took a position. Of those, 28 favored more conservative standards than the ones that were approved by the City Council. Again, 93%. There were 2 surveys with over 300 responses that essentially said that residents wanted standards that were either as restrictive or more restrictive than fellow cities, and that did not happen. So our hope is the City Council and staff will review our concerns as documented in this letter and respond thoughtfully by doing better in the future. There are 3 specific actions that we recommend that are within your scope to be able to take action on this issue. 2 have to do with the review process that I know is under modification to strengthen it, and 1 has to do with tracking the results that are obtained with standards that we feel fell well short. There was absolutely no need to raise the proposed standard above any other options, and the process by which it was done in the last meeting was really not appropriate. So with that, thank you for your time, and I will pass the letters to Crystal, and there's should be one for the council members, Greg Rubens and Jeff Maltby. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for the rest of you for joining Christian. Okay, Simon Dedman.
Thank you, guys. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, essentially echoing the same issues that Christian's just raised there. Just to say, there's some new blood on the council, some new power in the old blood. This would be a great opportunity for you guys to really continue to make or improve the transparency of the process going forward, and also, I suppose, to make the council and the machinations of the council more attractive to younger people. I'm not going to pretend like I count like a young person anymore, unfortunately, but to get a few younger people down here and involved in the local political process would obviously be a great win taking over 2 years to deliver something that wasn't really data-driven or transparent wouldn't count as a win. So if things can improve going forward, I think that would be a great thing for the city. Best of luck.
Thank you, Simon. I neglected to announce the next person, so I'll do two here. Helen Mikajewicz. Thank you. Followed by Ken Castle.
I'm Helen Mickiewicz. I've lived in San Carlos since 1989. I am speaking about the same issue, but from a different standpoint. I work for the California Public Utilities Commission as a managing attorney, and one of the areas of my expertise is open meeting laws. And I believe that the City Council, in its decision-making process on October 28th, may have violated the Brown Open Meeting Act in the way that it handled the subcommittee's presentation to the council. The subcommittee never took public comment on its proposal. The subcommittee presented its proposal after public comment had closed. The subcommittee's proposal was not subject to public comment, and then the council voted out the subcommittee's recommendation. I'm not saying it's definitely a violation, but there's a provision of the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act which specifies that the council, the legislative body, in this case the council, does not need to take additional comment on a committee's separate recommendation if it does not differ significantly from what else was on the table. So the council had to make a determination that night as to whether or not the subcommittee's proposal was significantly different from what else had been presented, like the recommendation from the staff. And you heard Christian just say that it was different from the perspective of a number of San Carlos residents. So I have also prepared a letter, and I will provide a copy to each of you through Crystal and to Greg Rubens, who may, oh yes, he's here. And I don't know if you were consulted on this, and you can't tell me because it's attorney-client confidentiality, but that's my concern. This kind of thing happens a lot in city councils and other smaller legislative bodies where people are not as familiar with the law as folks at the state level. So I would urge you to take a look at this. And I could have filed a request within 90 days and asked you to cure the problem.
Helen, are you close to wrapping up?
No, I'm almost done. I could have asked you to cure the problem. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking you to take a look at it and see if there's any sense that I have a point, and if so, don't do it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Ken Castle.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Olbert. Welcome to the dais, new council members. Now the hard work begins. I am also here to talk about transparency issues, not the same ones that you just heard from, but one that goes back a couple of years. This has to do with the money that came from the negotiated settlement involving the PG&E, natural gas issues, and the backdoor communications between PG&E and the California Public Utilities Commission. As you know, in April of 2017, the city reported, I believe City Attorney Greg Rubens, that the city would be getting $6 million along with San Bruno. And so the following, a couple of meetings later, in May of 2017, there was a study session held to get public feedback and to discuss what should be done with this money. So two speakers spoke from the public, and then the council members discussed among themselves, well, we should put some of it into the Holly interchange, we should put some of it into affordable housing, and one council member said, oh, let's create a foundation and give it to nonprofits. So not one single council member suggested that with the origin of this fine from public safety disaster, that we look at putting it into public safety measures in our city. Not one. Just surprised the heck out of me. So the next action, there was no formal public hearing. There was no formal vote taken. The next action that occurred was that $3 million for the Holly interchange was put into the mid-year budget report, and apparently the budget modification was voted on. Again, no discussion. So nothing more happened that year. In 2018,
Ken, are you close to wrapping up?
in 2018, it wasn't until July that a council item came up on creating this foundation to spend $2 million. And so I'm saying that you should bring this back to the public, hold a public hearing, look at putting that money into public safety issues and not spreading it around like pixie dust. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next on the list that I have is Lucia Senior.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk, and welcome to the new City Council members. I am here to talk about just this last couple of years that on a national level have been such a time of turmoil. And I imagine that I could count on my local government to be sincere, more sincere than what I'm seeing at the national level, to be sincere in its efforts to try to represent its citizens and solve their problems. And sadly, that has not been the case. I've been actually extremely disillusioned by the process. I've been quite involved in the residential zoning standards issues, and I've learned that San Carlos government allows you to talk and work and write and fill out surveys and not be heard. So to me, it feels like a farce, to be perfectly honest. And I feel like the process was very autocratic in the end, not democratic. That's not what I would expect in my small hometown. I encourage the new members of the City Council to do better. And I ask you please to listen to the people. I would encourage you to go back and listen to some of the footage from the previous meetings. There were tons of compelling stories. And I am feeling like this is no longer the city of good living, and I really question, there hasn't been a lot of explanation for why things are going the way they're going, and it seems to me that money is probably very involved. But I'd like to look into what's the motivation for so much development and letting things be so out of whack with what's going, the rest of the places around us. So just hoping for what everyone else has said, but I'm extremely disillusioned, and I hope new blood will make a better effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the council on items that are not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none.